Oh, man. All right. Let's try this again. Not that I tried it again, but oh, man, I didn't want to do that. Oh, well. I'll fix it later. Well, good morning and welcome to Mid-Morning Medium Chat with Adam the Black Swamp Medium. Hey, Carrie, good morning. I'm gonna wait just a minute or two. The last 15 minutes have absolutely been a roller coaster. And I will share one of them. The other one's not so much of a public thing, but woo wee, what a 15 minutes this has been. And go figure, this is all right before the show's got a light, and missing last week, and yeah, so so I'm all over the place. So I'm looking at other screens, trying to make sure things are ready, because I would have done that already. I mean, normally it's like I'll just click a few things and I'm good to go. Unfortunately, there's more to it than that. Wow. Okay. So, hey Tom, good morning. Yeah, so sorry for being like a minute or two late. Like I said, this was what a morning already. Um I I know with being off a week, I do apologize for that. It wasn't at my best. I guess I should put it that way. I wasn't sick. I think a lot of people, it's one thing I want to clarify before I talk about what just happened moments ago. Um, I I I I guess I use terminology a little bit differently than others. And I guess in my head it sounds right, and then to others it sort of computes into something completely different. And I get that. Uh, and I don't think about it at the time when I say things. Not that I don't know what I'm saying. Of course, if you're in a bit of you're getting in trouble, you're in anger and stuff like that. But you do, obviously when you're in those situations, sometimes you say things that you don't really mean, or if you do, it's obviously taken, a bad way. Um, but yeah, I guess a lot of times, and I know I've clarified it in the past and stuff, but hey, what's up, Dad? Um, I uh, I will use the term "I'm not feeling well," and and obviously a lot of people perceive that as an illness, cold, flu, something of that sort. And I guess I've used it in a broad sense quite a bit, especially this year. Like if I'm not feeling well, I've kind of lumped it into one thing versus breaking it down into what it should be. um I guess normally I would say like, "Hey, I'm sick," but I guess when I'm not feeling well, it could be a multiple array of things, both mentally and physically. And so so I find myself saying that more because it could be one or the other, it could be a combination of both. And you know, sometimes it's just easier to say it one way instead of just saying, it's just kind of one of those crazy things. So I yeah, and it wasn't so much that I was sick with something last weekend. Um, exhaustion, that's like something that you've heard more times than you can count. Uh, you know, again, given what I have to do during the week for my day job, getting up so early, and just not having the energy, like a lot of people do. I have to get up so much earlier and drive some, and so there's just all that concentration, and I'm not getting younger, so it doesn't help me out at all. But so yeah, I mean, I guess I'll have to be careful of how I word things in the future. If I say I'm not feeling well, there's even aspects of it that sometimes I don't know all the answers right away, because like say it's mental, stress, anxiety. I've talked about that a billion times before, and obviously that plays a role. And if I'm stressed out over certain things, that obviously takes a toll. And obviously for me, that's not feeling well. you know, uh, I guess it's easier to say that than saying just, "Well, I'm just mentally ill today." I I guess that's just the way I look at it. Um, my dad saying, "Could change it to feelings are not suitable for optimal performance." Yeah, I mean, you could use, all kinds of fancy words and things. "Hey, Bonnie, good morning." So, but right, well, yeah, and it's funny because, uh, it was kind of a combination of things, so it wasn't quite, I wasn't like I didn't come down with a cold or anything like that, or, anything popular, I I it was I physically, I was things were rough. I was dealing with a lot of kidney stones the week before, because of a lot of stress. Oh yeah, Bonnie, it's good to see you. Um, I was I mean, and some of that stuff I don't bring up all the time, because it's so common and it happens so often that I, you know, there's just why repeat myself? I mean, you guys hear me say exhaustion, you hear me say I'm stressed and I have anxiety and stuff. You know, I don't do it all the time because it gets old, and I know that. So that's why I don't say it all the time. So so that's why I guess if I say I'm not feeling well, it's just because I don't obviously want to sound like a broken record and keep saying the same thing over and over again. And it's just things that we have to deal with. We all have to deal with it in different ways, and you know, even different symptoms and things like that, especially when it comes to the mental side of things. But curious thing, I say I'm a little off today. Yeah, I mean, and that can be a little of everything in there. That absolutely could. Or change it to I feel like crap. Yeah, I mean, there's those times too. Sometimes you just gotta, yep, it's just a crappy day. And you can put it, you can substitute some other choice words in there too, especially if it's annoying. So but Um, yeah, so, yeah, it's just been, it was hectic going into last weekend. This week's been stressful. Um, I'll talk about a couple things real quickly, but let me back up a little bit, and tell you what just happened, because I think some of you are, you may be a little, it I'm hoping it well, that's the thing, is it's probably gonna depress a lot of you, and because it definitely caught me off guard. Bonnie saying, I think we all are going through emotional ups and downs lately for sure. Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing, is that when we went, I didn't post about it because again, I wasn't I wasn't all there. And uh I was not feeling I wasn't feeling great going into the beginning of the week. And um my dad's comment just threw me off. So now I'm trying to like remember wherever I was going with that point. Thanks a lot. You screwed me up. 'Cause I'm not prepared at all for, anything. I'm just really winging a lot of this right now. Um, I cannot remember where I was gonna go with that story. I'll think of it. Thanks a lot, Dad, screwing me up. Keeping the people waiting. Now they're on this edge of their seats, and now I gotta sit there and think of other things to remember what the hell I was just thinking. Great. That's just a perfect thing. Um, but, again, just to kind of before you went live. Oh, right, well, yeah, true, Carrie. Thank you. Uh, the okay, delay. Hey, Jeff. Yeah, you have done your job. So, okay. Uh, literally at 9:15, I was completely floored by something. And like I said, this is probably going to make some of you probably a little depressed, a little sad. And obviously, there's things like this happen. Um, I was I was in the opposite corner of the house. I was in my family room, in my living room's kitty corner to the front of the house, of course. Um, and I heard a noise, but half the family's up already, so I don't think much of it. We have a cat, so there's some noises you just don't always pay attention to unless it's some catastrophic, you know, explosion of noise that it's like what's breaking, what's falling over, that sort of thing. People with pets know this stuff. And so I heard a thud, but I didn't, again, didn't think much of it. I knew people were in the other room and I didn't hear any reaction. So it wasn't something for me to jump and wonder what was going on. Um, and I was pacing because I was just starting to think about the show and I was watching the clock tick down. because I try to time it to where I get my coffee just about the right time, so it's not, so it's still warm for at least part of the show before, I never finish it anyway. Because I always after the show I have to go upstairs and warm it back up the last little bit, but um, so I'm pacing back and forth, thinking about things I wanted to mention, things I want to talk about, including the topic, and so I'm just kind of racing, putting all that stuff through, and so I just happen to walk, towards the living room. Hey, Nikki, good morning or good afternoon. And so, I noticed my wife was looking out the window and she was really looking out the window. And we have bushes in front of our windows. And so she's looking, in there and she makes a comment. She's like, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "What?" She goes, so I walk now into the living room and I go up, I'm getting close to where she is by the window. And she's like, "Oh my God, that chipmunk is pulling that bird that just hit our window away." And I'm like, "What?" If you say goodnight, I'm out of here, right? I I was like, "What?" And she go and I couldn't see it because she was blocking, so it just was I couldn't tell. But as soon as she said something about this chipmunk is literally pulling this bird that just hit the window away, and it was said she said it was going towards our porch. So I'm like, "Well, that's not cool. I mean, what if the birds, can, make it through, So, because I had no idea that chipmunks were, that carnivorous to where, they're gonna sit there and go after a bird, Um, come to find out they can because she looked it up, but, so I go racing out the front door and I'm just at that point, I could see where the chipmunk pulled it all the way to the porch, and I guess there was a tiny enough hole that it was gonna pull it in and obviously have a meal. And but when I see this, the bird's still kind of kicking a little bit and it's still breathing. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this is, I mean, yeah, this is why I was like trying to come out here. Cause like obviously if it can, you know, I mean, if there's something I can do, I'm going to try to figure that out real quickly, and all well knowing that the show's coming up, and I'm sitting there going, who knows how long this is going to be. They don't really look like something's wrong, and I, and literally this is not even 5 seconds. And I'm looking down there and, it tried to flap a couple times. It kicked its leg a couple times. And I started talking to the bird, um, and, just trying to say, hey, and I could tell it was looking at me dead in the eye. Um, Obviously, it's probably was scared too, obviously, and then it was probably stunned from hitting the window. But, I look down and I'm looking into its eye and I'm trying to talk to it a little bit and just, get an understanding tell me what's up, what do we need to do, kind of sort of thing. And I watch it take 2 big breaths and then that was it. And it was and I'm staring at the bird and, the eyes start slowly closing and I'm just like, "Oh my god." I'm like, um, I mean, like I said, it was a total of 5 seconds from being outside. I mean, it was quick and at least in some aspect, I can, say I was there and hey, Candace, I could say I was there, hopefully because I was, trying to, give it some love back, just to hope that it, wasn't too bad. But like I said, it was so fast and so quick that I didn't have time to, really do much other than just try to, communicate with it for, the better part of a few seconds. But um uh, I mean, it was yeah, wow, and I'm sitting there like this is this is not the kind of morning I was expecting, especially being, within 15 minutes of the show. And uh I'm like, man, that was a rough one. I mean, you know, and I'm not and and I'm laughing just to try to kind of keep some positive motion, vibes going to this. I mean, I was devastated nonetheless, obviously. Um, hey Dale, good morning. Something to witness this quickly in the morning and as tragic as it was, really it floored me, and then I was sitting there like, I didn't care about time at that point, because everything just sort of stopped. And so, and then um I was, and then I was, in disbelief, like I think a lot of people would be when you're witnessing, regardless, you see a life going away and it ends, and then you're like, you just, it's hard to believe, and it obviously is a fact of life. It happens, and we're all going to go through it, but it was rough watching that bird look at me and take its final breaths, and it just, it's been a while since I've seen, you know, you you hear of things, people passing, animals, I know there's a lot of people that probably aren't here today, but I've this year alone, I've seen a lot of you, posting about your pets and things, and so obviously, you guys understand it, and I mean, we all do. Like I said, we have all experienced it in some way, and I think it's tough to be, because we're not, our society isn't, we're not always there a lot when these things happen. And so, sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing, because sometimes you want to be there to let them know that they feel loved, as they cross over. And for me, it was just that you know, like I said, it just stopped me. I really did not know what time it was anymore. I didn't know how to, and of course, I did my thing. I prayed over it. I gave it more love, and hope that it would cross, okay. It definitely wasn't a young bird by any means. It seemed like it had some age to it, but I wouldn't say it was really old. But I definitely say it would be, not that I'm a bird, professional, that I I could just look at a bird and tell, but it didn't seem that young, or didn't seem real young, and didn't seem real old. So, um, Tom saying, how unsettling besides birds flying into your window, it's also kind of freaky. Yeah. I mean, Dad, it really, that's why I said it sort of did. I mean, as soon as it dawned on me, because like you could tell, it was still trying to fight, or at least something. And like was so quick that it was just hard to, you know, do much other than I knew to start talking to it as fast as I could. Um, and that was pretty much it. It was like, yeah. So I mean, it's yeah, it was just like, wow, I mean, it's one thing to see something great and positive and things like that, and then to see something like this before doing a show and stuff. It's like, man, Candace is saying death I found is interesting. In fact, it just happens. There's no bells, no whistles, warnings, no parade. It's just quick, simple, and efficient. Yeah, I mean, uh, it's true. It is so true. And it is unfortunate that we're not in a position, we don't live the way that our ancestors did. We're not in each other's, bubbles more or less constantly, throughout the day. And so, we're not that used to it, because a lot of times things happen, miles away, or whether, they're in hospitals or and whatnot. So, I mean, there's a lot of times we're not always present when that happens. So it's hard to, um, you know, let it sink in, and for that, being a wild bird and stuff like that, yeah, I mean, like I said, it just caught me off guard, and I think, there's messages through and through with that, you know, it's not the first. The thing is it's not, and kind of goes off a little bit with Tom saying, it was a freaky, it's not the first time, we've had birds slam into our front windows. I think they give off some type of, I think, because when you look, not that I'm saying come over and look through my windows, but when you look through the windows, you can there's then, which used to be a formal dining room, but we turned it into an office area. So, there's computers and stuff, but you can see through. So I have this feeling that these birds just see the light all the way through. So to them, it's just like, flying through trees or something. And so they just do it. And like I said, it's not uncommon to have birds hitting our windows, and we put up like, um they've had where you could put like bird stickers in the windows that, if they see it, then they'll fly the other way and stuff. And so, we've tried that, didn't stop it. Birds still slamming into the windows and stuff. So, And granted, it's not all the time. It's not every day, not every week and stuff like that. But, every once in a while it happens and stuff. Um, but this is, I haven't noticed one that then ended up passing away, like that. So, um, Candace say it's heartbreaking to us that affects living around it. I'm glad you were there. You gave it some peace and honor and grace. And Bonnie saying, I know exactly how you felt. I have taken birds away a couple of times from my cats, and sometimes you don't get there fast enough, and it's so sad. I also prayed and gave healing energy. So sad. But one time I prayed and it put underneath a tree because I thought it was too late, and it rained and the bird flew off. So I think it had a choice sometimes. Right. The, what was it, last year or the year before, when, I kind of did the sort of the same thing where a female cardinal, hit our back door of all, places. And, the, the, the male, was like picking on her and stuff like that. I think because he was scared that something was wrong and she wasn't moving and reacting. And so, they're doing their thing. But, I went out there to protect it. Stood over it, and I was lightly petting, her feathers and things, and just pushing, constant love and healing at her. Cause I could tell she was dazed because her eyes weren't moving as much, but she was at least upright. She was breathing, and then she flew away, and so, it's just one of those things. Hey, Jason, good morning. You too, man. So yeah, it was a heck of a start, and even then waking up this morning, I, I, w- I actually startled myself this morning. I woke up in a panic, at 4:30, thinking that I was late for work because normally I'm already on the road by that point. And I started, like, for a moment, I'm like, oh my gosh, and then I luckily fell back asleep, and then my son woke up at like 5:45. So I'm like, I got a little bit more, but not much. So, other than that, the morning was okay. It was decent. I was sitting down getting ready for, the topic and everything. And, it was a nice morning. I was even laughing, at some funny videos, and, and then like this just happens. And I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, so I'm going to keep my eyes open for the rest of the day because it's just too, yeah, it's either that I'm gonna curl up under some sheets and just not come back out, just let the day, go by, even though I want to relax and stuff, but which I do need, a lot. Let's see. Carrie saying, does your message from your guides tie into what happened this morning? You know what, Carrie? Because it's happened so quickly, I haven't obviously thought too deeply into it. I have a suspicion that they do. Hey, Peg, good morning. I do. Um, and because my mind was everywhere, I wasn't able to just stop and ask or stop and listen. It was focused on the bird, and then it was just like, oh my gosh, and then I was just kind of like, in that shock mode. And then I was like, and then a family situation happened, and then I was having to deal with the family. And so it just, I have not been, I've literally, I mean, I sat down at 9:30, or yeah, right at 9:30, and then I'm reaching to try to get things started. And so it was like 9:31, 9:32 when I lit the show. So I mean, I've it's since 9:15, I've just not stopped for a moment. So yes, after the show, I do plan to revisit it, and kind of see if there's some messages, especially with the chipmunk coming in. So now I have to, like, one, the bird, the chipmunk pulling the bird away. There's things I got to think of. Now, of course, there's blatant, obvious things right out of the gate, but obviously, I want to look deeper into it. Hey, Christine, I want to look deeper into it and to see what else there is, and especially, watching it pass and stuff. And so, that's, sort of the thing. I want to dive into it to make sure I'm not missing something. Cause like I said, you can always do the service, just like when I talk about dream interpreting. You can look at the dream, right, as what you see it as, but unfortunately there's always more meanings behind it. You know, um, just like, like tarot, you get the death card, doesn't mean you're going to die, you know, and that's the same in a dream. You're like, oh, you're going to die, and you die in the dream. No, not necessarily. I mean, because obviously you didn't die because you were able to live and tell the story, and to share your dreams to people. So, uh, yeah, so that's why the thing is it's always diving deeper into things. So yes, I will, and I will do that today. And if I get any interesting message, I'll gladly share it. Because yeah, it's there because even all week there's things. Um, I've had messages, through and through, so much this week. Even what really the last 2.5 weeks, there's been things. So I'm in the final stages of figuring things out, and uh, that's what this weekend's going to be doing is just kind of putting all the pieces together so I can see what the big picture is, and that's my one of my goals this weekend besides just doing some chores and things, and but I'm also hoping to. Hey Terry. I am hoping to get outdoors. Now it rained a lot, you know, basically it rained all evening and then through most of the night. So I'd love to get to a park, but I know walking around it's just gonna be mud pit because it hasn't rained in so long, and all the dirt and everything that's been around and stuff has been so dry because it hasn't. Um, so I know things are going to be a mess out there, and not that I'm against it by any means, because you could certainly walk on paved areas and things like that in some parks, but hey Katie, yeah Peg, it left us. It's on its way to you. So yeah, it's you. We already dealt with that stuff. So, but yeah, yeah. So that's what I'm hoping is to get out, and I may just use today to deal with some stuff, and then I will um, look at tomorrow to possibly get out to a park or two because I'm definitely being called to it like more than usual. And like I love just popping outside, which is what I tell a lot of people is just step outside for a minute. What the hell? Sorry, hold on. What was that? God. Okay, hang on a second. What did I hit? I don't know what. Okay, that was weird. Sorry. Okay, that was really weird. I swear to God, something was on my. I'm wearing flip flops, but I swear to God, something jumped on my toe, and I see nothing anywhere. Like I kept thinking, like, because then I kicked my foot, and I'm like, I don't see anything. Oh, that's weird. Okay, all right. That was a fun moment. I'm like, what's touching my toe? And I kick, and I'm like, what was that? Oh, geez. Oh gosh. All right. Okay, cool. Now I'm gonna put my feet up on the wheels. Let's see. Okay. It's just everything's happening. Let's just, we're just gonna do everything live. We're just gonna have fun and mysterious things jumping on my toe. I kept thinking it was like a we got centipedes and things like that running around. I kept thinking it was something like that, but I don't know. But I thought I kicked whatever it was, and I don't see anything. So I don't know. Okay. How about that? All right. You need the park visit to restore yourself. It's under the destination. Yeah, I know, Peg. I was kind of worried. Well, we have had in the past. We've had a couple mice, but it's been a couple years. We've had used to have shrews that have found their way in and stuff, and so that's always a thing that's possible. But it definitely wasn't because I would have heard like when I kicked, I didn't hear nothing hit anything, and like I got a couple boxes under my desk. That if it was a mouse or something, it would have, and even then coming up to me, like, what are you doing? So, uh, anyway, well, that was a fun little moment. It's one thing when I have like the angel feathers fall in front, through the camera and things, and I'm like, look at this, how this was even more fun and mysterious. So, uh, other than that, so let's push ahead. And by the way, as I look at the old clock there, to do this real quick while it's there. There we go. Got to put that in there. 10:01 or 1001. Love the. All right. So I wanted to, and this was meant to be like last week because I wanted this to be sort of that controversial topic because uh, you know, you got people that are totally into this, and you got people that absolutely hate it with a passion. And so I did want to mention, or I wanted to finally talk about orbs, and would love to hear it. I just hope that everybody's respectful, regardless of everybody's opinion. This isn't meant to make fun of anybody, regardless if they like them or don't like them. It, whether you've had experience with them or you haven't, it's all good. You know what I mean? Obviously be open minded for everything because right, it. I think you in the before we really explain it, but to it helps to obviously experience it. It's very difficult to be like this. You guys are all watching the show, through a mobile device or on your computers. It's very difficult to experience or relate or understand what you're looking at or what they're whoever is showing their evidence, in this case orbs, to people. You don't know everything, and that's what makes it difficult, and that's why you have to stay open minded when people present orbs, to me through videos or photography, for photo evidence. I sit there and ask a range of questions that relate to what possibly it is or isn't. Um, because, you know, well, let's before we dive anymore. Anyway, what's an orb, right? So I will read you the actual definition because which I don't like that one at all, but um why don't I use a mouse? That's a great idea. I'm going to do some show and tell here, so hang tight. But it's essentially what it is an energy type of manifested energy which gives off a light. I guess that's a good short way to put that. It is and essentially there's even people that have said it too, a ball of energy. That's awesome. Because it basically is in some ways. I mean, you can kind of see what I have, all back here. Um, there is, different shapes, different colors, transparent, solid, and maybe orbs are spirits who are transitioned to someplace. Well, and that's what we're getting into. So, but essentially, it is a form of energy, just like spirits. They are a form of energy, and that's why I think it's awesome to utilize many types of equipment because for whatever reason, which we don't have, right, Peg? We don't have specifics, but some spirits only like to do certain ways of communicating when they understand how to do it. Because you see some that will touch EMF equipment. You got some that'll say words, obviously out of our range of it, but our recorders will pick up on it. And then you have some that are able to manifest enough to where they are then seen, whether it's seen on camera or whether it's seen with your own physical eyes. And so it is very fascinating, and it's one of the aspects of paranormal investigating I truly love. You know, I love the equipment, I love the gear, and it's not always about mediumship, uh, but having some equipment, and we're not going down a path of what's the best equipment or well, the equipment's not really doing what it's supposed to be doing, or you're not using it for the right reasons and things. We're not going there. This isn't that kind of we're not doing that today. We could spend that for another one. But the point is, there is moments where you're able to capture those images, whatever, or audio, and Orbs to me, and I've what's my dad saying? I don't think a person gets a book like a Beetlejuice to help them through. Right. Yeah. It's well, I mean, it essentially that is true. You really aren't getting a how-to manual of how things are. You sort of figure it out. Um, Granted, you do get to hang out with others, but that's the whole thing is uh, it's easier if you make it all the way through instead of just trying to be stubborn and hang more towards this realm. Nice to kind of go all the way through it and get to the other side because you learn a little bit more on the other side. That way you can go back and forth a little bit easier. So you know, don't stick around. If it's your time, just go all the way. Come back and visit, but at least go hang out with all your friends and your family that have passed before you. Hang out with them for a little while. Get used to the idea of you've moved, you've switched realms, you've switched energy sources. So, but yeah, I mean, for me, um, I came into the field and I was already experiencing orbs. And the cool thing was, even with watching some of the TV shows up until finally investigating in 2012 with my dad, but the it wasn't so much of a topic or something of a love hate thing, where you got, like I said, you got some people that love it and some people that just absolutely hate it. And uh so but I was experiencing really before I started investing in it. But again, watching the shows, you'd see them once in a while and stuff like that, but you didn't think much of it. And no, they do not eat food because I have an EVP from the old mill that specifically states, the spirit says I can't eat. That was the EVP. So no. So they truly know they can't do it. They can look at it, but they can't eat it. Um, it's not like Slimer on Ghostbusters, he's eating the tray of food in the hallway. So, uh, but like I said, I was experiencing, and because I wasn't doing any ghost hunting yet, but I was on a spiritual path. Now I was working with my own guides, and I was connecting with them, and it was always something. And I talked about this a little bit before, but I've whenever I would get lazy and I wouldn't thank them or acknowledge them for the day, they would show up, at a very odd time, which just happened to be when I'm in the bathroom. And for me, what helped solidify knowing that orbs were legit and real was the fact that they are like this. They are super solid. They look like a single LED light bulb that's just dancing and floating a little bit for, quarter of a second, couple seconds and stuff. It's moving around enough in your 180-degree vision, but you could see this solid little light like these just floating around you. And I would see, sometimes just one, sometimes I'd see three or four. And, I didn't have any head injuries, so you got to rule all that stuff out. But, I'm sitting, in a calm state and you just see these white lights. And it's funny because, uh, I always knew instantly because after a little while, I was like, I finally asked one time early on, I'm like, why are you guys showing up like this? Like, what's the problem? And then, like I went into meditation and then I asked them, like, okay, what's the deal? And that's when they were basically saying, you didn't, you've been talking to us for, daily for a long time. And then all of a sudden you just stop. And we're here to remind you that, keep working with us, and in that aspect, that wasn't the right terminology, but I, I absolutely, and so every time since, anytime I've been lazy, they'll pop in there and I'll see a few of them flying around. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry. And I'm looking at them going, I'm sorry. you know, Oh, Michael John, what's up, buddy? Top of the morning, and everyone orbs. Some believe, some say dust, rain, snow. What about the ones that seem to have a mindset of their own and what they're zipping around in the footage? Or how about about ones that are not traditionally white? It could be, for example, green in color, or in case of Bigfoot, Squatch. Yep. What about the orange orbs people see with their size basketballs? Love you. Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yep. The paranormal voice out of Windsor, Ontario. Michael, John, and Dale. I don't know if Dale's still watching or not, but the other great group of guys, awesome show. No, Michael John, yeah, I mean, I'm slowly getting closer and closer to, a lot of that, because I'm actually going to pull one up on my phone. I didn't have it ready. I say that's right. So my morning was kind of screwed up, or at least last minute. So I'll show you on my phone, which probably is not going to work with the green screen. I just realized that it's not going to show. Um, I'll tell you what, though, after the show, I will create a post today. So anybody that's watching, I will create a post after the show and I will put the photo. I'll pull it up, but the green screen's is gonna mess you up. So I'll pull that up and then put it, I'll link the photo in a post so you guys can see it for your own eyes. Plus, you can zoom if you're on one of your mobile devices. So I'll do that. Um, but yeah, and Michael John, great example is of having well, in fact, let's just do that. I'll just bring it up real quick. um color color is great. And where was that? Let me share this real quickly while I'm pulling up my photo, just so you guys can see it. Now, this is very possible. Now you're going to see the whole window, so forgive me, but I just thought this would be easier. But you can see different colors. Now, I'm not going to say these are all 100% legit, that they're all spirits. They certainly could be. They certainly might not be as well. But seeing different aspects. Now, like I said, this is a quick visual because you have to remember with like orbs and things, it really helps to be there or to really, know the person that's showing it to you and knowing what they did to make sure it wasn't this, that, and the other. Because it is critical. If you don't, you know be harsh on your own evidence, you've got some issues. Because again, there is, um where is that stinking thing? Did I put it in a different folder? Let's see. um where is it? It's got to be in here. Sorry, guys. Urgh. Okay, I got to go to a different folder for that. All right. But like I said, you guys can see the ideas of different colors, and those are great, and especially, because they do have ways of meaning certain things. I do like, where is that? Uh Wait, which one? Nope. I had a few things. Here, you guys can read this. Here's somewhat of a list right here in the middle. Sorry, I got to remember the mouse is, of some of the colors and what they represent. Um, I got to get to the wrong folder. Okay, I need to get in the right folder for the right reason. There we go. Cool. All right, got it. All right, and I'll even zoom in on it. But okay, so yeah, so blue, yellow, pink, white, green, red, purple. White's always the most notorious, and even then with the white, like I said, you get transparent where you can kind of see it through it. Personally, again, not knowing the situation, but if it was me, I kind of know what's happening in the sense of being empathic. It does help a lot to feel the energies that are going on, because that aids into the idea of multiple things happening at the same time. So if I feel like there's definitely something in the room with us, don't know what it is, but knowing that there's something in the room. Come here, mouse. So you guys can see me for a second, but otherwise you can keep reading a little bit. It really helps to, so like if I feel something's in the room and then something like that appears, something is captured, that really, makes it harder to debunk, what's going on. And that happens. That's why, if you have other pieces of equipment with you and those are reacting to something, whether it's questions, and then somebody's got a camera and they take a photo at that moment, and then it's like, boom, they've got something on there. Now, it still doesn't mean it can't be this, that, or the other, you know, depending on the time of year, depending on what's going on, outdoors. And let me do this real quick because this just, oof, where is it? Yeah. The I'll blow this one up real quick. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. If people even have the audacity to say, "Look at all those spirits," I'm sorry. We have no idea what's going on out there. We don't know if it's raining or it's misting. I mean, we don't know. And this would be the epitome of them, saying, well, if spirits have crossed over, then we would have them everywhere. Well, yeah, this would mean you wouldn't be able to walk anywhere because you'd be hitting so many spirits every few steps. And it would be like this. It'd be like walking through, or better yet, because this has happened to me once in the Caribbean. I swam through, I don't know how many tens of thousands of jellyfish. Luckily, they weren't the stinging ones, but it literally looked like that. Was swimming through thousands and thousands of jellyfish because I couldn't get to shore, and the only way to get to shore was to go through them. And when the first few didn't sting me, I'm like, okay, I'm good to go. But it's like this: there's no way you wouldn't notice it or feel it and see them. So I don't care who you are, you're gonna notice something if you were in something like that. Because that is that's incredible. You know what I mean? Hey, Veronica, being a swarm of midges in the spring. Yeah, Peggy. I mean, Tom saying the last time I saw one was purple and it seemed to move with intention. Yeah, right. And again, in that's what I'm saying is then there's times where let me go back to this real quick. It truly does react to what's going on, or if you're asking questions and it manifests at that point, or it moves to a different. So again, a good investigator, you're trying to make sure it isn't, because I want it to be legit through and through. And if there's a way that I can debunk everything that it could be, and then say, look, I've checked all this, and then present it to you, you still have the option to say, no, it's not. And that's okay. I'm fine with that. But at least I was there and I can know for me that I experienced it. And I've caught several orbs. And like I said, my favorite that are the hardest to debunk are like this, where they are solid. When you can't see through them, it definitely doesn't going to fall in the category of dust, moisture in the air, snow. You have bug issues too. We're getting into the warmer weather, so we are going to have bugs flying around. There's different size bugs, and of course, when a photo is taken, there's a flash. It illuminates sometimes their wings, and so and I don't think there was some that are red. I don't think I had one set, but there was a image somewhere that showed, here's what, a bug looks like when a flash is going off at night, and there's times where you can clearly see the wings, and granted, even when the photo's taken, maybe that, was closing its wings, or maybe it was turning. So its profile, so you can't tell. But that's why it's important to always take multiple photos and not just one. But but again, the whole point is to go through as much as you can to figure out what it is and isn't. And that way, when you can't come up with anything else rational, then you at least feel like you're leaning towards something really legit. Doesn't mean that there isn't times where, um, orbs are truly transparent, and that's just the way it is, and that's how they maybe you caught them at a point where they were manifesting, so they were just starting to illuminate, or maybe you caught them when they were fading away. There is that too. So, you know, um, but let me show you. I'm going to try, but like I said, more than likely it's not going to come up. So it's probably going to look like some of these, but at the old mill, when you guys, if anybody comes to investigate, we go through the tour and I talk about this and I showed this exact photo to everybody. We were having a local newspaper or local magazine from a couple towns over do an article on the old mill, and especially the haunted side of it. And they, we took them around to all the areas. And so you had the person writing the article, and then you had their professional photographer with them taking photos. So, if there's a few that they would include, of course, you're going to have an outside of the building. Anyway, so we're in the basement, one of the favorite spots, of the old mill. And there's a notorious thing, and I know my dad's going to chime in here in a second. There's a very popular female in the basement that everybody on the team deems my girlfriend, and her name's Marie. And Marie, her favorite thing to do is to automatically usually within anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes when I'm down there, she will She knows I'm there, and she'll automatically come over and here's my left arm. She'll come over and she will wrap her arm down like, like when you link arms together, she does that. She grabs onto my arm. And it's amazing when that happens because only the elbow, a little bit of the biceps, sometimes a little bit of the top of the forearm, here and here, gets cold. And a lot of times it feels like an ice pack. Now, if you feel the right side of me, there's nothing. It's just normal. And I've proven to a lot of people that have never experienced a spirit before. I said, I want you to come over to me and I want you to hold your arms out like you're going to hug me, but don't actually hug me, but get your hands on both sides of my elbows. And I always ask them, but not lead them. I said, does one side feel particularly different than the other? And always their right hand, which is my left side, they're like, yeah, it feels a little bit cooler over here. There you go. That's, there you go. You are feeling a spirit at that moment. Now, while that was happening, when this article was happening, the photographer took a photo. Well, there's a light that I'm zoomed in, but I'll pull it. I'll zoom back out so you can see, but there's a light. Well, if you ever take a photo at a light bulb, you take one at the sun, you have a lens flare. You got that long row of light, right? So she's like, oh, I got this lens flare. I said, well, take 2 more steps to your left. So she takes a couple more and she takes a photo and something doesn't look right. She takes another photo and then she's looking at her screen and she's like, well, that's really weird. And then some of the team members start walking over to look over her shoulder. And then they're like, oh, wait a minute. And I'm still staying in this exact spot on purpose because I don't want, because if she needs to take some more, then I'm not moving. So sure enough, they see something unusual. They see an orb with color around my left arm. Okay. And so, like I said, this may not appear because it's green. So it's probably going to look like one of the white ones, but I will point it out. So, oh no, you can kind of see it. Oh, cool. Sorry, I've got the charger in. Let me do this. There you go. You can kind of see it. Actually, that's not bad. So yeah, there's my left elbow. There's my left arm. Okay. And you can just make out the little bit of the green there, but that's it. You can see it. I mean, obviously the green screen's affecting it a little bit, but you at least can see, right there. And again, that was feeling from mentally. I knew she was there. 2, I could legitly sense that. Well, I knew she was there, feel that she was there. So I've got 2 things going, for me at least. And then that happens. So you get to the point where that's very difficult to say that's not happening. But again, I had a group of people there. I had teammates there. Hey, Shiloh, I had a group of people standing there with me. And you've got a professional photographer at this point that cannot say how that was possible. Never has she ever captured something like that, ever. She's never had something like that. She had the lens flare. She knew exactly what she goes. Oh, I got this lens flare. I said, well, move over a little bit more because she truly was trying to see if there was a possibility. I think she was more or less thinking, would there be an apparition? And so she captured that green, basically translucent orb right where my elbow is, right where she was holding on to. And so it was great to then finally have that because Marie's not the one to physically do too much other than that. Like she'll talk to me, she'll hold on to me, but as far as equipment goes or manifesting, she really doesn't do that. She'll once in a while, if we have EMF out and I push her a little bit, she'll touch, a particular EMF device and it'll light up a little bit or a number will happen. That's it. That's all you get from her. She's just, it's not her thing. And so something like this where she actually somehow manifests. Now, I mentioned what I said earlier that, colors, orbs have certain colors, and you saw earlier, which let me repeat that. Let's get the mouse working. Where is it? Green saying healing and prosperity. It also, when I did research on it right away, was that Green, if you capture a green orb, it was of a living person, I mean, could be animal too, but a living human person that existed at some point, which, you know, as much information as she's provided to me, that was legit, so, uh, did the Bob show that you know what? I don't remember, Dad. I mean, it was several years ago. I don't remember. Hey, Brenda. Um, so I don't remember, Dad, if he did or didn't. I know Marie did, because we had that, because that photo of me ended up being one of the main photos inside the article, which was really cool. So we still show that article in the information there. But again, that's what I wanted to say really is, there's a lot of people that take them. There's a lot of people that, just because they capture an orb and they automatically assume. I don't like to automatically assume anything until I know more information further. Just because you walk into a house or into a basement and things, did they just clean? Or is it dirty and dusty? And then when you're walking around, you're kicking stuff up with your feet. So you have to remember, that's why a lot of times it's best that when you are investigating, especially something that's a little bit more abandoned, something that's not necessarily kept up, is when you get in the room, go ahead and turn the things on, start recorders, turn on the EMF equipment, but don't necessarily start relying on your video and photos right away. Because of the fact that if you get yourself and a bunch of other people walk in a room, you're going to kick something up dust wise. I mean, it's just impossible. But at least when you get into a room and you first just get the feeling of it, you're letting all that other dust, if it's dust, you're letting it all settle. Doesn't mean that they're still not going to kick around. You're still not going to have that stuff happen. But you give yourself a better chance at letting things settle once you get into a room. And this could, I mean, even a clean place, even something you're a home, you're investigating a private residence. Same thing. You still need to just wait a little bit, give every time to settle down, so that way you're not just automatically thinking it is this. Uh, but like I said, I am a fan of orbs, but again, I've spent enough time experiencing them, and doing my due diligence in proving, if they are. In looking at a lot of stuff online, like you saw, it is difficult to look at some of these people that have stuff and just be like, I don't know. I mean, it could be, certainly could be. And I've had plenty of people over the years, that have captured things. They've shown me in it. And, sometimes, if it is solid, like these, at least I'm already leaning there. If it's a little transparent, I have a little bit more difficult time, because there's a lot more questions I have before I can say yes it is, or yes it is, or it isn't. But then again, that's also my opinion. If you truly felt that you captured something and that's it, that's okay. That's you. We're all allowed to have our opinions. It's still a free country. But like I said, the longer you do this, the longer you have the experiences, you start to see things a lot differently. And, when you're brand new at this, everything looks like a ghost, so to speak. And I fell into it a little bit, not as bad, but I still fell into it a little bit. But now that, I've been doing it and I've seen so much and done so much, and it's just, it makes it a lot easier. So, Candace is saying, even if you just clean, there's still dust, no matter what. Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, because even then, if you think about it, just taking your arm and going real fast or scratching your arm, for an itch, you just created stuff in the air. So upholstery hole that dust. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you sit down on a chair or on a couch or something that's fabric. Whew, that's just an instant little poof of, That's why I say you really got to just sit still for, a good at least 5 minutes, if not longer. But yeah, so, but yeah, but like I said, if you capture things, kind of pay attention to what you're sensing, what you're feeling at the time. See if it feels like it, because if it just feels normal and calm and stuff like that, it's gonna start leaning in it's probably dust or something, moisture of some sort. But I'm not saying it isn't yet, but again, everybody can feel something when they walk in the room, because again, you can walk into a room and just tell the mood of people. You're going over to a birthday party. everybody's happy. So everybody feels that you get that energy, and that's the same thing. Ignore the fact that like if you're going ghost investigating at night, oh, it's creepy. Well, you just created a mood that you don't know that. I mean, don't create the mood, just because it looks dark, it's going to be automatically a scary situation. Don't do that. Get excited for it. Keep your energy up. Don't be fearful about it. So, of course you do. You're blind as a bat. um, I know you're not, but anyway, so yeah, so have fun, and like I said, we all take photos, and I forgot to mention too, with a lot of the cameras nowadays, a lot of the cell phones nowadays, because of how fast the shutters are, closing so much that they are picking up a lot more than what old film did way back. Not that they didn't capture stuff back then, but it truly is. These uh a lot of it's digital, so you do have some, issues with the camera itself. Cell phones, all the point and shoots, anything digital nowadays has a processing to it. It's not just imprinting an image that right onto a film anymore. It goes through a little processor. It's so quick. But again, you also have to always look at the cameras, and that's why, again, take multiple photos before you move your hand. Minimum 3 shots. I do this with all the weather pics. I have 3 shots of everything that I've ever posted. Once in a while I'll only do 1, but I always take 3 because it might be fuzzy, or but you take them, and that way you have and 3 options per 1 shot. So if I'm pointing this way, boom, 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 and then I can look at them real quick, and then I can move to. I get into the habit because it's easier to delete a photo because if you miss the moment, you miss the moment. So that's why take multiple photos before you even move your hands. And then that way you can review it right then, or you could review it later on, because that has come back and been a blessing that I've taken multiples. Candace is saying, helpful hint for newbies: vents, air, heat on, ceiling fan, fridge running. Yep. Yes, indeed. Yeah. That's why sometimes even like the noise of like HVAC and stuff, turning all that off, for a little while. So you stop dust, you stop the noise. I mean, it's things that you have to do. Obviously there's times where it's going to happen, so you anticipate it. But then again, if you capture something, hey, I know the vents were on, or I know the air conditioning was on. There's just some of those things that then if something happens, it may not be. So when you do a ghost investigation, enjoy the process. You never know that's true, Dad. Yeah, I mean, you don't, and you shouldn't go in there with expectations. Never. Just go in there, have fun, especially if it's a historical place. There's so many great places that offer it. Like our old mill, it's very historic. There's ships, there's other buildings all around the country that have great history to it, and it's just, I'm always blessed to be in those areas, to be in those places, to know that there was tons of history that happened there. Maybe some of it was great, maybe some was tragic, but I look at it as just from a historical side, that it's just awesome to be there and to have that moment, that most people don't get a chance to. Yeah, even if the ceiling fan's running silently, you can pick up the sound. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Candace. Very good. Thank you for making all that, and my dad too. Yeah, it's just it's all about having fun, but it's also just about being careful about everything too. Paying attention. That's why you got to slow down doing these investigations. You can't get all amped up because you could be missing something. So whisper quiet my butt. That too. Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing whispering, right? Hello. So, did you hear that? I think it said hello. So, all right. So I definitely got my hour in since I started a minute or 2 late, but it is past an hour. So I am going to get out of here and get on with my day. Hopefully you all will have a great Saturday, a great rest of your weekend. Take time for yourselves. If you've, got to get some chores done, get them done, but then make sure you have some moments for you to enjoy and, take a load off, kick your feet up, take a nap if you need to. I'm going to try. So do that was absolutely, Candace. Nikki, you have a great weekend. Yeah. So enjoy your weekends. I will be back again soon. I'm going to try to work on some more videos. Ciao, buddy. We'll see you, buddy. Much love to you. And definitely check out the Paranormal Voice. Got to give those guys credit, man. They do a great job. So, Candace, you too. So again, enjoy your weekend. Thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging in there. Yeah, I'm going to try to get, another post or two out this weekend. And then, right, Dad, no problem. Yeah, she's not going to be around today, so it won't be today. But then obviously, I don't know about tomorrow or, next week or something, but I'll let you know. I'll find out what her schedule's like, but I know she's not going to be home today. So, yeah, so I'm out. You guys enjoy it. Thanks again. So this has been the Mid-Morning Medium Chat with Adam the Black Swamp Medium. Thank you so much. I will see you again soon. All my love, light, and peace to each and every single one of you. Take care.